Texans beat the Browns 45-14. And I think they lost because of their defense. I mean, how could you think otherwise? Joe Flacco had the 2 pick sixes in the second half. And up to that point, he was playing really well. It was unfortunate that he had to be in that position because he was somebody that can hold afloat the Browns. He's not somebody that can kind of carry the fort for them. And they put him in a position that I don't think he should be in if you want to win games. But I mean, CJ Stroud, of course, incredible, 274 yards, 3 touchdowns, 16 for 21. But how these touchdowns came about, you have a 15-yard screen pass touchdown to Nico Collins, where he just takes it to the house. Brevin Jordan took a screen pass, 76 yards for a touchdown. He had to wear an oxygen mask on the sideline after that. The third touchdown, Dalton Schultz gets past the defense. It was a little bit of a coverage bust. The safety didn't know where to be. He gets a touchdown. I think that Bobby Slowick earned himself a head coaching opportunity with this performance. The Browns are a top defense in the NFL, and Slowick designed the perfect game plan, a perfect balance of misdirection in the run game, running to the outside, trying to negate the pass rush with screen passes, and then hitting explosives down the field in a timely manner. I think that he earned himself a coaching opportunity. CJ Stroud maybe could have had even more yardage had he hit Nico Collins down the field, a throw that he missed by just a little bit. And I think there was another throw that CJ didn't put on the money like that. But Bobby Slowick, to me, is going to be a head coach. I mean, this performance kind of stamped it. When you put up 45 points against one of the league's best defenses, you've earned yourself a shot to be the head coach. And I know CJ is the big storyline in all of this, but I really thought that this was more so a Bobby Slowick masterclass and him just pulling out all the tricks out of his bag in his play calling.
Shout out to the Houston Texans, man, to go from where they were last season to this season with the playoff win. I want to compare it to the Giants of last season, but it feels a little bit more than the Giants of last season because
Feels
just the
real.
ability of CJ Stroud is just, it's unbelievable how good this guy is. I was the only one to pick Cleveland up here. I thought their defense would be able to step up. I wish I looked at the splits of those home and away points per game because I was not aware how terrible that defense was on the road. But it really felt like everything came crashing down that third quarter. You know, it was a one possession game. Both teams were able to move the ball. To me, it felt like the Texans had control of this game, even though in the first half the Browns were able to hit some big plays. You had Harrison Bryant have a big catch. David Njoku on the second drive of the game, I want to say, had a big 30, 40-yard catch down the field. But it felt like Houston's was more sustainable. And then the second half, you just have Joe Flacco back-to-back pick sixes. I don't know if it's back-to-back or 2 and 3 drives, whatever. And then everything there, it just came crashing down. You know, this Browns team for the last 4 or 5 weeks, Joe Flacco had been such an upgrade over what they had. PJ Walker, DTR, even Deshaun Watson in some moments, that if you thought Joe Flacco could play complementary football to an elite defense, you felt really good about this Browns team. The issue is they went on the road to one of the hottest offenses in football. The defense got torn to shreds, and then Joe Flacco did not play complimentary football. He threw multiple interceptions and just completely took them out of this game. So give credit, you're right. Bobby Slowick is going to be in head coaching conversations. He's going to get interviews. What he's done in just one season with CJ Stroud has been super impressive. And overall, just kind of turning around the culture. Of course, D'Amico Ryans gets a lot of credit. But when you're looking at CJ Stroud's growth in this offense, too, who have Nico Collins out there, you're out Tank Dell. Noah Brown goes out in the first or second quarter of this game. So it's Dalton Schultz, of course, John Mechie, and Robert Woods are your wide receiver 2 and 3, and you have Nico Collins. It's not like it's this superstar lineup of wide receivers and weapons in the running back room. Devin Singletary and Dameon Pierce is nothing to write home about either. So the fact this offense is able to be so prolific, CJ Stroud is able to, he makes high-level throws, but he also finds a lot of guys that are just open in space too, and that gives credit to the offensive scheme and the design there. So a masterclass for the Texans. I'm happy for them. But next week against Baltimore, man, on the road, that's going to be a bit of a different environment. Being home, inside, in the dome, it's going to favor that high-octane passing offense. Going on the road to Baltimore, another great defense, but outside in Baltimore, I think it might be a bit of a different outcome.
If I'm the Texans, I'm praying, Bobby Slowick, please stay with us next season. We just got a rookie quarterback, and you're able to do this. Imagine what we can do if we stick around together for some time. But obviously, that doesn't seem to be realistic. If I'm Bobby, I want my own my own team that I can run and make decisions for. I get that for sure. But if I'm the Texans, I'm doing everything I can to keep him as my OC, because you see what the result can be against the number one statistically great defense in the National Football League. You do get Denzel Ward back for the Cleveland Browns. Didn't matter. Secondary was getting absolutely gashed all day long. And in the first half, CJ Stroud had unbelievable statistics. To me, I'm giving him a B+, A-. There was 2 moments where Nico Collins could have had one of the greatest games we've seen in playoff history. That bomb touchdown that he was ahead of this guy by almost a mile. He had him wide open, just slightly overthrew him. He has an unbelievable arm, but sometimes you got to take off a little bit mustard on that one. And then the one where Nico Collins had to adjust his body to the opposite side. This was the Nico Collins show on offense. He had himself an unbelievable game. The yards after the catch, his ability to make some tough adjustments. He is a very great wide receiver in this National Football League. And I say that in due part that CJ Stroud is great. He is a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League right now. I do firmly believe that. But Nico Collins is not great because of CJ Stroud. Nico Collins is great because of Nico Collins. He's a great talent in his own right, has great speed, has great hands, has great route running ability, knows how to read defenses and get open when he needs to. Nico is a great wide receiver talent, and I'm here for CJ Stroud praise, but let's not have that at the expense of a Nico Collins, who needs his own credit in that regard. But what a game from the Houston Texans. To talk about the Cleveland Browns for a quick second, credit to Joe Flacco. I mean, absolutely no hate from this side. To come out of a brief retirement, to come back onto the football field and help the Cleveland Browns make the playoffs, be a team that, hey, have people convinced that this could be one of those teams that could upset some squads. You had that feeling that with the way that he was playing a little bit too loose with the football at times, that he would be the one that would turn the ball over and then this game would get a little bit out of hand. I never anticipated 45 points from the Houston Texans. I know that there were 2 pick sixes, and I know that offense of the Houston Texans could do whatever they wanted. I never anticipated this much of an ass kicking. But Joe Flacco, he did as good of a job as he could in the position that he was. Want to give him his respect, him his flowers. But the Cleveland Browns, unfortunately, I never felt were that team to really compete for it. I gave them their respect because, hey, defenses can take you far. But with the way that Joe Flacco was turning the ball over, if this was the guy that you were going to put all your faith into, that's where I had my reservations. And again, that's not a slight to Joe Flacco. He did a job that what he was asked to. It's just, unfortunately, he wasn't that guy to get them to that next level. But again, credit to the Cleveland Browns. Unfortunate that your ride has to end here, but Houston Texans, I do legitimately believe this is the team that will be going to the AFC Championship game. I do think that will be a reality.
They'll beat the Ravens?
I'm thinking about my bracket. Not happening. I don't know if the Texans will beat the Ravens. I think it'll be a great game. I'm thinking about my bracket where I had the Dolphins playing the Ravens and the Ravens moving on. No, it'll be a great game. I'm going to have to sit on that one, but I still think the Ravens would handle business.
They played week 1, and CJ was pretty good in that game. You know, who knows what happens from that game to now. But anything that happens now moving forward with the Texans, I think is just a cherry on top to the season they've had. I think every Texans fan, they were satisfied with making the playoffs and winning the division, winning a playoff game. Now they're over the top. Anything else from here is just an added bonus, but I think they've already had a successful season. The Browns, though, the Browns is tricky because it took Joe Flacco fresh off a couch to save their year and give them a competent offense. Deshaun Watson's cap hit next year is $64 million. Of course, that's going to get restructured, but it's still going to be very hard to build a roster around Deshaun Watson, and he's not good. He's not a good quarterback.
I believe Amari Cooper is also a free agent after this season. I'm about to check that.
This was the Browns' opportunity to make a run. They had an elite defense that didn't show up when it matters, you know, for what that's worth. But this was their chance to kind of shock people. I think next year they're not going to catch anybody by surprise. And if Deshaun Watson doesn't magically turn into who we think he used to be, then it feels like the Browns, I mean, they're already in territory where this trade's going to go down as all-time bad. But if he cannot even match Joe Flacco's production, then this is going to look much worse.
Mark Cooper, free agent 2025, by the way. But they restructured Deshaun's contract last year too, I want to say. It's going to be tough for Cleveland. You know, this felt like this whole year really felt like a bit too good to be true, especially down the stretch. I know I was one to pick them, thought they could win this game, but even still, it felt like all season long down the stretch, it felt just something was wrong. Like, it's working now, but it's not going to work forever. Getting Deshaun Watson back and healthy, he had some moments this season where he was fine to good. He never really had any moments of excellence. We never really saw the Houston Deshaun Watson where he's making plays on the run. He's making, these insane big arm throws, 40, 50 yards down the field, getting these chunk plays consistently. He's had moments, especially as a rusher this season. But the guy the Browns traded for, we're going on 4 years now, removed 3-4 years now, removed on that. Now you're getting into his later 20s. And with this contract, it's very similar to the Russell Wilson contract where you can't just be good. You can't just be a top 15 quarterback and we're going to be able to accept that. Deshaun Watson needs to go out there and be able to match these quarterbacks in the AFC with Lamar's and Mahomes and these guys. If he's not able to do that, Cleveland has no chance to compete for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, go look at the Denver Broncos. You don't trade 2-3 first-round picks for someone that's going to be top 15. That's not going to get the job done. Simply will not do that. I'll tell you from firsthand experience. You need to be a lot better than that. And Deshaun, you're right, Joel. He hadn't shown that. The closest I think that fans got to seeing that was that game versus the Ravens, where he's extending, goes and picks up that first down with his legs. That might be the only time that we've seen it so far. But outside of that, I think Joe Flacco played the best quarterback football for the Cleveland Browns this season. And that's sad. Given the fact you gave up 3 first-round picks, you mentioned it, going to be on the books for $60 million next season. It's not ideal if you're a Cleveland Browns fan. This defense is amazing, but you go as far as your quarterback takes you.
And you gave them 3 first-round picks. The team you gave 3 first-round picks to just eliminated you from the playoffs and hosted a playoff game. The Texans have been able to rebuild faster than the Browns, and they've had more success with their rookie quarterback than the Browns have had with the quarterback they guaranteed $200+ million to. And his contract is fully guaranteed. So no matter how many times they restructure it, they're eventually going to have to pay him all that money. And if he is not good next year, and it's clear that the best pathway forward is to move on, then that's going to be a huge hit to them.
I'm just looking at this Deshaun Watson contract. Sorry, Drew.
Okay.
There's, unless they're trading for him, there's like no way out of this contract to like 2026. If they released him this season, $200 million in dead cap. Next season, $136 million in dead cap. And in 2026, it would be 73 million in dead cap. If they're able to trade him, it's only 26 million, but who's taking on a $60 million cap hit for Deshaun Watson? So they're basically tied with him through 2026, unless they're able to trade Deshaun Watson. Here's a first round pick to get off that contract.
If you are Deshaun Watson, you have to take something from this season and take something from Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco oversimplified things to a certain degree where kind of ended up playing a little bit sloppy at times, but he just made the game so simple for himself. Oh, I have Njoku, who is actually one of the better receiving tight ends in the league. Let me throw him the ball on a consistent basis, and we could actually push the ball downfield. I have Amari Cooper. I understand that he, for the first time in, I believe, Browns history, has recorded back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. No other wide receiver has done that. And that's also when you had Josh Gordon, who put up one of the best seasons that we've seen from a Cleveland Brown, but he couldn't do it in back-to-back seasons. We need to realize, if I'm Deshaun Watson, hey, I have guys that I could throw the ball to and we could push the ball downfield. Joe Flacco didn't have the luxury of playing with Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb hopefully will be back next season. This offense will get a little bit more juice, but it needs to be that simple for Deshaun. I have 2 guys that I can trust. Me holding on to the ball is not going to help us play winning football. I need to trust my receivers. I need to trust my tight end. I need to trust my running backs that we can make plays and they can help me get to where I want to go. I can't be a superhero every single time I'm out in the football field. Joe Flacco showed that. You need to go out there next season and you need to take Joe Flacco's advice and go out there and just get back to the basics of just letting the ball rip.